Hey guys, I'm Myra with Atomic Baby Cosplay, and today I'm going to talk about the basics of using your sewing machine. So first things first, I'm going to do this video a little bit differently. Most of the video is going to be filmed from this perspective so you guys can see close up what I'm doing, but I wanted to do this one so you can kind of see my setup. So normally what I have is I have this machine, which is my Husqvarna Viking #1, that's down here on this level, and this is the main machine that I work with. I used to use my Brother Project Runway model I got at Walmart. I used that for about 5 years, but now I'm not really using it anymore. It lives up here normally, and then this is my basic sewing kit, which I keep either here or on the floor or next to me or what have you. So this is my basic setup. My foot pedals are down here on the floor, obviously. And yeah, so let's get started. All right, so first things first. This is my Viking Husqvarna machine. I love it. It's amazing. This is a older machine. Both of my machines are on the older side, but this is a very old machine. It has a lot of the same basic features that most sewing machines have, though, so I thought it would be helpful so you could kind of see what your basic sewing machine can do. So usually sewing machines have a foot lever. Not all of them. There are a couple that have auto sensors, but most of them, especially the basic ones, do. And it's usually located back here behind your sewing machines. This raises and lowers the foot lever. Now, the reason you want to raise and lower the foot lever is that it helps the fabric to glide smoothly underneath. So once I lower it, my fabric no longer moves around. There are feed dogs, which is what this fancy thing down here is called on this plate. Those are feed dogs, and they move your fabric through. So when you're sewing, you don't actually have to use your hands to pull the fabric through. When you press down on the foot pedal, it naturally does it for you. It moves it all on its own, just like that. So really, when you're sewing, what you're doing is you're guiding your machine. So the next thing that you'll notice is that you have your sewing machine needle, which is right here. There's usually this screw right here on the right-hand side is how you remove and change your needle, which you should do very, very often. Again, things are going to be slightly different on some machines, but generally speaking, this is just kind of how it works. You can also change your presser foot. On this machine, you push down and pull forward, and it pops off, and then you can push backwards, and it'll snap back on. On my other machine, there's a little button on the back, and you just press the little button, and the foot pops off, and then when you want to reattach it, you flip the foot lever down on top of your new foot. You're going to want to change your feet every now and then, depending on what you're working on right now. You will also have a tension wheel, which is what this is up here. Your tension wheel determines the tension that your thread is going to be at when it sews through the fabric. This is really important when it comes to doing basting, where you want a loose tension, or you can ruffle with a tight tension. There's lots of options here, but tension is going to be an important thing. You're also going to find that some machines have a needle up or a needle down feature. That's what this button does. This button determines if, when I'm sewing, my needle will stop in the fabric or out of the fabric. I like it to stop usually in the fabric because I'm often pivoting around corners, and that's how you pivot, is with the needle in your fabric. You are also going to find most machines have a thread cutter. My thread cutter is on this edge behind. It's back here. So I literally just run my thread down here and it cuts off on its own. Not all machines are in the same place, but generally speaking, they're all going to be there. You're also going to find most machines will tell you how to thread them. This will be in your user manual, but it can also be on the machine itself. So my Brother machine, which is a more beginner machine, has the instructions for how to thread it on the machine. This one doesn't, but generally speaking, you're going to find you want to take your thread. My spool of thread is way back here. Way back here. You're going to take your spool of thread and you're going to run it along here, down through this, which are tension discs. That's what those are called. Here, through the overlock, which is this little lever here, back down, and then thread your needle from front to back, and you want to make sure that there are no tangles or twists on your needle. Again, not every machine has all these functions. This is just kind of a basic overview. You'll also have a way to wind bobbins. It's different for every machine. On my Brother machine, it's up on the top. On this machine, there's actually a feature over here on the side. Your user manual will give you more information about that. So most machines also will have an armhole ability. So this entire mechanism can pop off, and then I can sew freely around an armhole by looping it over my bar. Most sewing machines also come with storage. So this usually is a storage compartment on most machines. So here you can see I've got a little bit of storage. I have some bobbin cases here that are popped into a little holder. I also have a bunch of different feet for my machine. I'm going to go over all of these next week. We're going to talk about sewing machine feet. And then this is where my bobbin lives. Your bobbin is the thread spool that you use on the lower part of your stitching. Bobbins are something that you have to wind. When you get a new spool of thread, you'll need to wind a bobbin. This is what it looks like if it's in a tension case. Just looks like this. And then it'll have instructions in the user manual for how you put that back in, but generally it's pretty simple. A bobbin that is not in its little silver case, this is what it looks like before it's in the silver case. I hate to wind bobbins. It's my least favorite sewing machine task. So I will usually wind several all at once if I know I'm going to need more than one. That way I don't have to keep stopping and doing it throughout. Other features that your sewing machine will have, it's going to have something that controls the stitch length, which is this guy right here. You can see the numbers right above are going up and down. That's controlling my stitch length. It'll also have a stitch width feature. This controls how wide your stitch is, which is helpful on zigzags. Most machines will also tell you what foot you need. This one says I need the foot B, so it helps to make sewing feet a little bit easier. And in this case, my machine will also tell me what needle I need in order to sew with the type of fabric that I've indicated. My machine happens to have this feature over here, which is pretty nifty, where I can tell it what fabric I have. So say it's a medium weight stretch knit, and I want to do a seam and an overcast, and it will automatically change all my settings to be appropriate for that. Not all machines have this feature. You can totally make do without it. Don't stress. Most machines also have your stitch selection up here. Sometimes you can just press the button and that'll be how it changes. But other times, like on my Brother machine, I have a little display and I have to type in the number, and these buttons don't do anything. You'll get used to what the different buttons mean. It seems like hieroglyphics, but I promise it's not that intimidating. I'll go into more detail on those buttons at a later week, but basically it's a lot of your basic stitches. So buttons, buttonholes, these are straight stitches. You can see your zigzag stitches, things like that. And then lastly, you'll have a wheel. All machines have a wheel over here on the side. This lets you raise and lower the needle manually. This is really helpful when you need to raise the needle out of the fabric when you're trying to finish without having to sew off the end of something. It's also helpful for being able to kind of go really slow and roll it by hand if you want to really be precise about something. All right, and that's it, guys. I hope this was helpful for some of you. I just thought it would be helpful to do a quick, basic sewing machine overview. If you liked what you saw here today, definitely click subscribe. I do videos every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'd love to have you be a part of our channel. We also have a free Facebook community for sewing and cosplay called Fellowship of the Seam, and I'd love to have you be a member of that over there. And lastly, if you feel like leaving a comment about what your favorite sewing machine tip is, I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!